Twitter has officially announced they're going to start hiding tweets that detract from the conversation. And even though they're just now announcing this, they've actually been doing it for a while. And what this means is that if you use Twitter, you might actually be banned and not even know it. Maybe you posted a tweet recently. Nobody retweeted it, nobody liked it, nobody replied. It could be because your tweet sucks, or you could be shadow banned. What's most alarming about this is that there is evidence to suggest that these shadow bannings are partisan and that Twitter more heavily censors conservatives. Before we get started, let me give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Vikings. Vikings is a mobile game with legendary battle events of over 1 million players. This game stands out with high definition 3D graphics and smooth gameplay, and the best part is, you get to choose your own playstyle. Build an indestructible fortress, or just gather your friends, build a fierce army together, and conquer the world. Vikings has just gone through another massive update, finally adding new shamans and kingdoms. Really? This is the best time to join the action. I never really considered myself a gamer, and I've gotten criticism for that because people know I play a ton of video games and games like Magic the Gathering. So try out Vikings, click the link in the description below, and you will get 200 gold and the protection shield for free. And I want to give another special thanks to Vikings for helping support my channel. Let's start by going back in time to January 12th, 2018. Real Clear Politics had the story, which actually came from Project Veritas. Hidden Camera, Twitter and Reddit use shadow ban algorithms to censor political opinions. In a video James O'Keefe posted, a former software engineer from Twitter talked about how their strategy was to shadow ban people. The story, Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe presents his latest undercover video investigation in which current and former Twitter employees are shown explaining steps the social media giant is taking to censor political content that they don't like. One engineer says they are not planning to ban mindsets, but a certain way of talking. Shadow banning has been around for a long time. Reddit does it, Twitter does it, and I'm sure many other platforms do it. This was created because there were spam bots, robot accounts that would go on social media platforms and start posting links to dumb websites, posting advertisements. When the service would ban this account, the people who operate those bots would get the notification and then create a new account and just keep doing it. The idea was, if they could make your posts invisible so that no one could see or interact with you, you wouldn't know you were banned, and then you would keep working as though you weren't banned. Effectively, they were sanitizing the platform of what you were doing without alerting you that they were sanitizing what you were doing. The Twitter engineer said on Hidden Camera, one strategy is to shadow ban, so you have ultimate control. The idea of a shadow ban is that you ban someone but they don't know they've been banned because they keep posting and no one sees their content. So they just think that no one is engaging with their content when in reality, no one is seeing it. In the past, people have been really pissed off about that. And even people who haven't been shadow banned have called it like a really terrible thing to do. So yeah, it's a risky strategy. I definitely know Reddit does this, but I don't know if Twitter does this anymore. But now to the latest news. Twitter has officially confirmed they are going to be shadow banning. This from Slate, Twitter will start hiding tweets that detract from the conversation. The company is trying out a new way to stop trolls from ruining your mentions. Twitter is announcing on Tuesday that it will begin hiding tweets from certain accounts in conversations and search results. To see them, you'll have to scroll to the bottom of the conversation and click Show More Replies, or go into your search settings and choose See Everything. Think of them as Twitter's equivalent of the Yelp reviews that are not currently recommended, or the Reddit comments that have a comment score below threshold. So this is where it gets kind of confusing. Twitter is now announcing they're going to start doing this, but they've always done this. In fact, many of my tweets have the Show More Replies button, and then it explains that some of these might be offensive or something. So Twitter's been doing this forever. I don't understand why they're announcing it now and acting like it's a new policy. That's just not true. But as with all issues of political speech, politics, activism, etc., people will often wield power against those that they disagree with. Because when we go back to the Project Veritas story, we can see that at least one employee at Twitter said it was most likely targeting Republicans.
The majority of the algorithms are against conservatives or liberals?
I would say the majority of it are for Republicans, because they're all from Russia and they wanted Trump to win. So
you'd mostly just get rid of conservatives?
I knew that was in Russia.
So you would mostly just get rid of conservatives. And this is an issue of two things: the ideologically motivated attacks on political opponents, and people who are in a bubble who actually think anyone on Twitter supporting Trump is a Russian bot, because the Russia sphere is a very real thing, and it's really terrifying when you see people accuse everyone of being a Russian spy. Yes, I have been accused of being a Russia spy, and you can actually see my face. When I'm tweeting, you know that I'm tweeting. Yet, for some reason, Twitter has decided, at least from the perspective of this employee, they are mostly targeting conservatives because, as he said, they're all from Russia and they wanted Trump to win, so. But now let's talk about why algorithmic censorship is a huge problem. Last month on Reddit, we saw this discussion. Currently tweeting certain benign phrases, such as thanks, at a shadow banned user on Twitter results in a shadow ban, causing a huge epidemic of restricted accounts. The user said, "Please do not actually attempt this. It happened to me by accident, and I am attempting to share it here so that it can possibly get some attention. I have been sending ticket after ticket to Twitter support, trying to explain the exploit, and they will not respond." Saying things like, "I love you," "thanks," thank you," were getting people shadow banned. One theory is that if a user is shadow banned and no one can see what they post, no one should be able to respond to them. So if you do manage to respond to someone who is shadow banned, you must somehow be affiliated with that account, in which case Twitter shadow bans you too. And then what happens? A massive cascade of people getting banned because computers don't understand what's happening. And apparently, at least some of this was confirmed by Twitter. On April 25th, Twitter confirmed to the Daily Dot that there was a glitch stemming from efforts to cut down on spam tweets, and that the social media site is working to resolve the issue. We identified a few instances of false positives originating from our efforts to combat a recent spam campaign, and have taken steps to correct the issue, a spokesperson said. Outside of the alarming fact that people are going to be shadow banned for having the wrong kind of conversation, we're also learning that some of James O'Keefe's earlier reporting was actually correct.
Every single conversation is going to be graded by a machine, and the machine's going to say whether or not it's a positive thing or a negative thing. And whether it's positive or negative, that's not going to the comments, but more it's like if somebody's being aggressive or not, right? Somebody's like just cursing at somebody like, oh, whatever, they might have a point, but it'll just like vanish.
So is it going to like essentially ban certain mindsets and or people who could be negative?
No, it's not going to ban a mindset, it's going to ban like a way of talking.
Ban a way of talking, rating things positive or negative. He mentions that if you're just cursing at people, that's probably negative. And then when we look at the latest headline, it sounds like that's exactly what's happening. Again, the Slate article. Twitter is going to hide tweets that detract from the conversation. But there's also possibly another phenomenon happening. A Reddit user on the Kotaku in Action subreddit said, "Twitter deleting tweets, question mark. Has anyone ever ran into an instance of Twitter just outright deleting tweets with no notification? Basically, here's what went on. Today I've posted like maybe at most 5 things, 2 were completely innocent, the other 3 were replies to people posting absurd replies to posts they disagreed with. Well, I got a very ominous reminder plastered above my main tweet area on the Twitter homepage, reminding me about Twitter's terms of conduct. It had the options of got it and a link to the Twitter rules. It wasn't a blatant warning, more like the usual crap that pops up occasionally. That's when I noticed that all of my tweets, other than the 2 completely innocent ones, had vanished without a trace. I haven't been blatantly penalized, but I have a feeling I may be shadow banned now, or at least received a mafia-style warning. Has anyone else ran into this lately? Perhaps I'm just being paranoid, and there was other reasons my tweet disappeared." And he included an edit. "According to an online shadow ban tester, I am not shadow banned." Weird. Now, I'm not one to normally use Twitter speculation and stories without confirmation. But considering we saw the conversation on technology 1 month ago, and then the confirmation that something like this was happening, with all that's happening around Twitter, I think there is a strong possibility that this story is factually accurate and something is going on Twitter that will roll out in the future. What we're seeing now from Slate, that Twitter is going to start shadow banning certain conversations, was covered months ago by James O'Keefe. You have to realize that any project being rolled out is going to take months in advance, maybe even longer. So if what this user is reporting is true, then it may be a feature that will be rolled out in the future. I often hear people say, don't use Twitter, why use Twitter, get on an alternative. Tim, why do you use Twitter? Well, I do because it's the biggest social media platform for news, and it is one of the biggest social media platforms, period. If you want to be involved in the global conversation, if you want to get news and share news, Twitter is where you need to be. And what's scary is that it is a private platform that has no obligation to protect free speech. When we hear that they're going to ban things that detract from the conversation, that means people are going to be silenced because Twitter or the system doesn't think you are contributing to the conversation. Well, who determines what is or is not a contribution? Yes, we have moderators on many platforms. Forums and websites will moderate comments saying, I don't like this one, but that falls on that user and their platform. Twitter is going to allow a bot to do this. And as I've already explained to you, it got to a point where a bot was shadow banning people for saying thanks and I love you. It doesn't always work. I have talked time and time again about algorithmic censorship backfires. It doesn't work properly. And that doesn't mean that we won't eventually develop technology that does work. But think about what that Twitter engineer said about positive and negative conversations. If you want to tell someone to shove off, sure, why not? Why can't you tell someone? Why can't you express your anger at somebody? I have the option to mute you. I have the option to block you. Why does Twitter think they need to implement a robot to make sure I don't see you criticizing me in a less than professional way? Sure, it's not a productive conversation. I have very little respect for people who engage in debate by insulting one another, but you're certainly free to do it. Twitter is going to start getting rid of negative conversations. And that means messages will be sanitized. And what? We're going to have a Prozac version of political discourse where people only say happy, positive things. And the criticism is always like a compliment sandwich where, for the most part, we're complimenting what you say and agreeing with you, but then maybe poking at a criticism a little bit because we're scared that Twitter's going to shadow ban us if we're being critical of your idea. I'm imagining a future where no matter what happens, everyone is positive, where there's some kind of mass shooting or terror attack or some heavy criticism of government policy, and everyone just loves it. And there's literally no criticism because that would be negative. And so Twitter's going to get rid of that way of talking. So how then do you criticize someone very nicely? Hey, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I think you're really awesome and your ideas are great, but I'm just personally, I don't know if I like your politics. No, we need to be able to say that politician is a dipshit and they're bad at what they do and call them out when they do dumb things. But Twitter is a business that needs to protect its bottom line. So long as Twitter is a private business that doesn't have to uphold freedom of speech, this is just going to get worse. And I'm not saying Twitter has to uphold freedom of speech. I don't know what Twitter should do. I'm going to use it so long as it is a viable platform for learning about things and sharing news. But I think it's also important to point out that as these problems persist, it will make the platform less usable. What value do I get out of a platform if people are being shadow banned and I don't know what they're thinking and I can't get the information I need? So let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you been shadow banned? If you have, comment, because at least what we heard from James O'Keefe's reporting, they're claiming these people are robots. But obviously not everybody who likes Trump is a robot. That's ridiculous. There are robots everywhere doing everything. There are robots trying to sell sandwiches. There are robots trying to get you to go to a casino. And yes, there are robots trying to get you to vote for Hillary or for Donald Trump. So again, let me know if you've been shadow banned. We'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. Stay tuned. New videos every day at 4 p.m. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.